You were born in England in the late 13th century, in the reigns of kings who prized war over peace. Your home is a timber shack with a leaking thatch roof. Floors are mud, blankets thin. The only warmth comes from a smoke-choked fire in the corner. Rats claim the place as much as your family. Your early years are spent in perpetual hunger, not starving, but never full. Life is hard, but peasant boys still dream of becoming knights. Knights, after all, are the heroes in the traveling bard's tales: shiny armor, banners, glory. You want that. Choice is a luxury you do not have. Parliament decided long before you were born, every able-bodied male must train with the longbow. Not for sport, not for pride, for war. The order comes from the crown and is enforced by the sheriff. Skip practice and you pay a fine you cannot afford, or spend a night in the stocks. For now you are a toddler and exempt. By 7 you are not. After church on Sundays you line up at the butts, bow in hand, strings biting your fingers. No games, no excuses. You pull until your shoulders burn, until tears stop, until calluses form like armor over your skin. The adults call it honor, you call it pain. Pain is the point. It is shaping you for a life you never asked for. You grow into your bow like other boys grow into boots. By 12 the child's bow is gone. You showed promise and are rewarded with extra training. Now it is the real thing. Longbows made from yew or ash as tall as you, draw weights heavy enough to snap a careless spine. Before you may draw, you are taught to build strength, lifting stones, hauling logs, until your body hardens. The first full draw tears something in your shoulder. No one cares. Training is not about hitting targets. It's about making a machine. You fire until your fingers split and bleed, then fire more. The leather guard on your wrist stinks of sweat and rot. Your left arm thickens, bones bend under years of strain. Your spine twists. The village healer calls it the mark of a true bowman. There is no escape. Not in winter when the string freezes, not in summer when sweat blinds you, not on holy days. The law does not care about harvest, weather, or aching bones. It cares that when the king calls, you will be ready. At 14 you are considered an adult by the standards of the time. Less than half your peers survive to this age. You can loose a dozen arrows a minute with deadly aim at 200 yards. Your body is already broken in ways you will not understand until later. At 17 they pull you from the village for your first campaign. You trained for this, you were told. The reality is 20 miles a day in thin leather boots, 60 pounds of misery strapped to your back, and no promise of a warm bed. You eat hard bread that cracks your teeth and meat so tough it might be horsehide. Rain ruins bowstrings. You sleep with yours inside your shirt, your sweat soaking it through. You march with men twice your age, some missing fingers or limping from old wounds. You try not to count how many start and how many are gone by dawn. There are only 2 reasons a companion vanishes: desertion or death. You cannot decide which is worse. On the battlefield the ground is slick with mud and blood. You form ranks and wait for orders. The captain's horn sounds, fire. You send the first arrow into chaos. Somewhere a stranger falls because of you. You do not see his face, but you hear the scream. You keep firing as arrows fly in every direction. Some of your comrades fall to friendly shots. Hands wobble, an arrow lodges in the back of a footman. You pretend not to notice. When it ends you shake with muscle spasms, bleeding from bowering cuts. You think of her, the girl you promised as a child, and wonder what she would say if she saw you now. You vowed to marry her after your first campaign. By nightfall you have looted boots from a corpse. The captain calls it wages. You call it whatever you can strip from the field before someone else does. A knight's sword worth more than a year's pay, a pouch with 3 coins, a ring. The army pays late, if at all. The captain tells you plunder is survival. For the first time you understand war is less glory than endurance. You limp home months later, alive but changed. Your fiancée runs to meet you, kisses you through tears, but her eyes search your face as if looking for the person she knew. The painful truth is that you do not know if you are him either. The king calls again, you always will. You march and return again and again, spending more time on the road than in your own bed. Campaigns last months, sometimes years. Battles are never clean. Stakes to stop cavalry, lines of men shoulder to shoulder, captains shouting orders over clash and cry. You fire until your fingers split and your shoulders feel like they are tearing away. 1,000 arrows blot the sky black. Nights are filled with screaming horses and guttural shouts. You do not stop. When tactics fail and the enemy closes, you reach for a weapon and find only a dagger. Your opponent is a knight's squire, young, wearing leather, desperate. He lunges, you dodge, but a slash cuts your face. He stumbles on a corpse, you stab his exposed neck. He dies with eyes wide open, disbelief frozen on his face. You tell yourself to always bring an axe next time. Injuries mount, a cut that will not heal, a shoulder that will not lift, fingers that go numb in the cold. Purple patches bloom on your hands from poor circulation, reminders of a body taxed by a lifetime of drawing a heavy string. You treat wounds with wine, honey, sometimes dung. Surgeons use fire, iron, and prayers, amputation if lucky, death if not. Letters home are unreliable, rumors flow both ways. Your wife might have remarried, or she waits still, breath held. Every battle reshapes you, scars, limps, sleepless nights. The bow fits your hand, but you are not sure your skin does anymore. When you return after 10 years, you are a stranger in your own home. Your children barely know you, you missed their births. Some nights you wake to phantom horns and the imagined whistle of arrows. Your wife reaches for you and you flinch. You think of the dead when alone, you start to believe the priests who say this is divine punishment. Neighbors watch you like a wary dog. You drink too much, speak too bluntly. In peace you are dangerous. In war you are useful. No one knows what to do with a man forged by conflict. At 40 your hands do not grip like they once did. The bow that served you feels like a tree trying to tear your arms from their sockets. Old injuries throb in damp weather. No one calls for you, they call for your son instead. Work between campaigns is odd jobs, mending fences, sharpening tools. Your body remembers the battlefield more than the hearth. You dream of that perfect volley, strings singing, arrows blotting out the sun, and wish you could die with an arrow still in flight. But dreams are kinder than the end. You die in a damp bed, not on a field, buried in a shallow grave behind the church. Years later, archery becomes sport for nobles. The longbow gives way to crossbows and muskets. Your bones, one arm thicker than the other, a spine twisted like rope, survive as an archaeologist's curiosity. They wonder who you were, but they know what you were, a body shaped and claimed by war.